What if the real ultimate power of a nation wasn't with the politicians, but with the people? Well, in Kenya, that's not just some nice idea. It's literally written into the Constitution. So today, we're going to unpack this incredible story of how Kenya's legal framework was specifically designed to put power right back into the hands of its citizens.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll take a quick look at the past, then dive into the constitutional revolution that totally flipped the script. We'll check out the specific tools you can actually use, see why access to information is so critical, and wrap it all up with an amazing story of change in action.
To really get what a big deal this is, we've got to understand what things were like before. For a long time, the ways for regular citizens to make their voices heard were, well, let's just say they were pretty limited.
Now, this desire for people to participate, it isn't new. Back in the post-colonial era, sure, there were laws and projects trying to get citizens involved, but there was this one critical missing piece. Most people just didn't fully understand the rights they actually had, and because of that, these opportunities never really took off.
So the problem wasn't just about creating paths for participation. It was about closing that knowledge gap. The real challenge was, how do you turn people from just passive subjects into active, informed citizens who not only know their rights, but feel totally empowered to use them?
And that leads us to the solution, which was pretty groundbreaking. Kenya's constitution didn't just make a few small changes to the old system. Oh no, it completely flipped the script on who holds the power.
This right here, this is the absolute heart of it all. Article 1. It's a really simple sentence, but the implications are just profound. It says that the ultimate authority, the final say in how the country is run, belongs to the people. Not the government, not the president, but the citizens.
Okay, so it's one thing to have that power on paper, right? But what does that actually mean for an ordinary person? How do you use it? Let's break that down.
The way to think about it is that the Constitution basically hands every Kenyan a toolkit for getting involved, and this toolkit gives you two main ways to use that sovereign power.
So you've got two main paths. Indirect participation is the one we're probably all familiar with, electing representatives to make decisions for us. But direct participation, that's where things get really interesting. This is where you, as a citizen, can take matters into your own hands.
And this direct action toolkit is about so much more than just voting. It's about getting informed, debating the big issues, really scrutinizing candidates and parties, protesting peacefully, and even directly petitioning the government. All of these are your constitutional rights.
And here's how that all fits together. The Constitution literally tells public servants they have to involve you when they're making policy. It requires participation at the local level, we're talking your county government, and it gives you the right to formally ask Parliament to look into your concerns. It's a whole system for engagement, from the ground up.
But let's be real, none of these tools are much good if you're trying to use them in the dark. To really participate in a meaningful way, you need information. You have to know what the government is actually doing.
And guess what? The Constitution guarantees that too. Article 35 is basically the key that unlocks everything else. It says you, as a citizen, have the right to access information held by the state. This isn't just a nice to have, it's a fundamental right.
And this isn't just a one-way street. It's not just a right for you to demand, it's an actual obligation for the government to provide. The Constitution itself says that giving timely and accurate information to the public is a core value of public service. Transparency is baked right into the system.
So, what does that look like in the real world? It means Parliament can't just conduct its business behind closed doors. It means your local county assembly has to hold public meetings. And it means public servants are required to share information with you. It's all about making how the country is run visible to everyone.
Okay, I know all of these principles can feel a little abstract. So let's look at an incredible real-world example of what happens when just one citizen decides to act. We have to talk about the legacy of Wangari Maathai.
Wangari Maathai, she was a Kenyan icon, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and she started with something so simple: planting trees. It was a direct response to what she was hearing from rural women. They needed firewood, they needed clean water, they needed to stop soil erosion. But that simple act of planting a tree, well, it grew roots that went so much deeper.
Her own words just capture this transformation perfectly. She realized you couldn't separate the environment from how the country was being run. Planting a tree suddenly became an act of protest against things like land grabbing. It turned into a fight for justice, for equity, and for a real democratic say in the future of the country.
And the impact of this movement that started with just one woman's simple idea? Her Greenbelt movement mobilized tens of thousands of women who, and get this, planted over 20 million trees across Kenya. Just let that number sink in for a second. It's staggering.
And this, right here, is maybe the most important lesson from her life. Her story proves that you don't need to be some powerful politician or a wealthy executive to make a huge, monumental impact. Citizen participation is for anyone with an idea and the courage to act on it.
All right, let's quickly recap what we've covered. First, in Kenya, sovereign power truly belongs to the people. Second, the Constitution gives you a very real toolkit to exercise that power. Third, access to information is the fuel that makes the whole thing run. And finally, as the incredible Wangari Maathai showed us, even the simplest idea can grow into a massive force for change.
So, this all brings us to the final and really the most important question. The framework is there, the tools have been provided, the legacy of action is crystal clear. The question for the future isn't if citizens have power, but how they're going to choose to use it.